I can still taste the bitterness of that evening. We were at our favorite Italian restaurant, candlelit table, celebrating our 20th anniversary. I had bought him a silk tie I saved up for months to afford. I was smiling, waiting for him. But when Mark finally showed up, he didn't sit down. He didn't even take off his coat. He tossed a manila envelope onto the untouched dinner plate and said loud enough for the tables nearby to hear, "It's over, Sarah. I need someone who matches my future, not someone who reminds me of my poor past." I saw a blonde woman, 20 years younger, waiting for him by the door, smirking. In that moment, my world collapsed. But what Mark forgot in his arrogance is that his poor past had a secret. And that divorce envelope he threw on the table, it was about to become the death sentence of his career. To understand the gravity of what he did, you have to go back in time. When I met Mark, he was selling vacuum cleaners door to door. We lived in a damp basement in Brooklyn. I worked 2 jobs, waitressing by day, sewing by night, just so he could buy suits and look successful for interviews. For 15 years, I was his shadow. When he started his consulting firm, who do you think stayed up until 4 a.m. fixing his disastrous financial spreadsheets? Me. Who rewrote his emails so he wouldn't sound like an amateur? Me. Who came up with the product idea that made the company take off? Me. But I never asked for credit. I was happy being the supportive wife. I believed in us. But as the money rolled in, Mark changed. Dinners at home turned into business meetings where I was forbidden to speak. He started buying sports cars and criticizing my clothes, my hair, my wrinkles. He'd say, "You have no ambition, Sarah. You're too domestic." He didn't see that my lack of ambition was the only thing keeping his company afloat. Back to that night at the restaurant. I tried to reach for his hand. I said, "Mark, we built this together." He pulled his hand away like I was contagious. He laughed and said, "Together? Sarah, don't be ridiculous. I made the money. I am the face of the company. You just kept the house clean. Jessica understands business. She's modern. You're stuck in the past. Sign the papers and keep the lake house. It's the most you deserve." He walked out arm in arm with her, leaving me there, crying, with the waiter looking at me with pity. The humiliation continued the next week. He froze my credit cards. He boxed up my things from the office we built. He posted photos on social media with his new partner and love, saying he had finally found someone on his intellectual level. That broke me. I spent 2 weeks unable to get out of bed. I felt like garbage, useless, old. Until my lawyer called me and asked one simple question. "Sarah, the patent name for the core software, why is it in your maiden name?" That's when the switch flipped. Mark was so busy being the star that he forgot the paperwork. Years ago, when the company was nearly bankrupt, his credit score was ruined. To save the business, I registered the intellectual property and the main contracts in my name, with his signature agreeing that I was the copyright holder. 3 months after the divorce, Mark's company started to crumble. Without me fixing his mistakes, clients started to leave. And then, the final blow. He tried to sell the company for $10 million to a multinational corporation. On the day of the signing, I walked into the boardroom. Mark turned pale. "What is this cleaner doing here?" he shouted, trying to impress the buyers. The CEO of the multinational looked at Mark and said, "Mr. Mark, we aren't buying the company from you. We are buying her technology. Mrs. Sarah is the sole legal owner of the system we use." Mark tried to stutter, tried to say I was a fraud, but the lawyers slammed the documents on the table. Without my signature, his company was worth 0. And guess what? I wasn't selling. Not for him to keep half. I took control of the company. I fired Mark that same afternoon. The last time I saw him, he was screaming in the parking lot, blaming Jessica for distracting him. Today, I run the empire I built in the shadows, but now I'm standing in the light. Mark is back to sales, trying to convince people he's a misunderstood genius. The lesson is painful but necessary. Never shrink yourself to fit into someone else's ego. If you are the foundation, remember, when you move, their castle crumbles. Did this story touch you? Have you ever met someone who took credit for your hard work? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe because the truth always comes out.